Morning, everybody. It's wonderful to see you. It's wonderful to be here doing this on this beautiful spring day. Uh, as I'm speaking to you, as we are gathering here together this morning, it is a just beautifully clear, sunny April morning, and the spring is really feeling like spring, really feeling like spring this morning. So it's a wonderful day to try something new. So what we're going to be talking about, what I'm going to be talking about this morning is the verse for opening the sutra. My plan at this point is to recite this together at the beginning of the Dharma talks. This is a traditional chant that uh, has always been chanted by the collective, by whoever's in the room, and now it's a virtual room, but chanted by everybody collectively at the beginning of a talk. Um, and there's a lot to this chant, and I want to kind of play with it. So I'm going to get us started today by riffing on this thing a little bit for about 20 minutes or so. And I think I'll say more about it probably in subsequent talks because there's a lot to it. But I think there's a beautiful invitation in it that I want to kind of play with. So we'll start by reciting the verse for opening the sutra. The translation we're using is the translation I am used to, like all of the scriptures in contemporary American Zen. There's a bunch of translations of it. So if you want to search it up and see opening the sutra chant or verse for opening the sutra, I'm sure you'll find different versions of this. But this is the one I'm accustomed to, so that's the one I'll speak from. But if you're really into this kind of stuff, looking and comparing different translations is really helpful. It's really cool. It really helps us kind of get to the heart of what it's asking of us. And some of the points I'll make that are related to specific word choice will be either gained or lost, depending on what translation you're looking at. But when we look at different translations, we're getting more of a horizontal axis, like, oh, it's here, 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 and here, right? The 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 central meaning we can dive into, right? That never changes. But kind of going back and forth with translations helps us sometimes anyway to get to kind of the marrow. So this is the translation we will use today. And for those of you watching the video, I'll put this below the video there in the notes, so you'll have it to follow along with. It goes thusly. So rare to touch a deep and subtle Dharma, having it to see and hear, remember and become. We vow to taste the truth that is right here, and yet so far beyond words. Thank you. So there's a lot to that. There's a lot to that. Let's just touch the top layer today and see what happens in subsequent talks. What we can start by saying is this is traditional. Um, all of the Zen centers, all the Dharma centers that I'm aware of here, the Zen Dharma centers here in the Midwest in America have some relationship with this verse. Some of them only use it in a formal sesshin, more traditional sort of setting. Some use it every Sunday, every day that there's a Dharma offering from a teacher. This is how we all collectively start that. And so part of what that's doing is it's reminding us the talk you're about to hear is part of a ritual called the Dharma Talk. And it's a ritual. The Dharma Talk is a ritual, right? And so it's started with a verse, it's usually ended with a verse, especially in more traditional settings like Sesshin. The person who's going to offer the Dharma talk enters the room in a ritual fashion. They're dressed in ritual garb. They oftentimes do prostrations at the altar, offer incense, right? Stood off to the side of the altar. All of this stuff is part of a large ritual that everybody in the room is participating in. So what you, I hope, can see, and what I'm saying here is the talk itself is just one part, right? It's equal in its importance to the way the room is entered, the garment, the offering, the or the incense offering, the prostrations, the verse that you just heard, right? The verse at the end, the whole thing, like it's all part of one big thing. So what that does for us is it at least invites us to change our relationship with the information in the talk. That becomes less important. Does that, I hope that makes sense. In other words, what this isn't, strictly speaking, is um, college lecture where someone, the lecturer, has information or a perspective to give us as an audience, and our job is to receive it. That objectifies the speaker, it objectifies the audience, and it objectifies the information. So there's an exchange, there's a transaction that happens in that kind of setting, the lecture setting, right? The high school class or the college class setting. That's the way we're used to thinking about information, right? Being given a teacher and students, right? There's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly fine. It's beautiful. It's education. We need it. But this is something else, right? This verse helps us to remember, oh, wait, this is something else. This isn't just this person has information, and my job is to receive it and remember it and write it down and be a good student. That's not exactly what's happening. There's something else happening here, right? The words that this person is going to choose to say will come from their heart. It will come from their mind. Yes, it's personal. There's a individual element there. That person's an individual, right? But it's taking place as a part of something that's eternal because the ritual action of the whole service, really, right, that holds the Dharma talk is an expression of the transcendent, right? The way the room is entered, the garment, the offerings, the prostrations, the verse we just recited. Right. You can feel that's the religion container, and the individual words becomes the individual, right? But it's taking place in a container of the eternal. That's religion's job, right? That's the function of rituals to remind us of the eternal dimension, right? And so this verse goes pretty far out of its way, at least this translation of this verse, to remind us it's actually not about what this person's going to say. It's about our collective responsibility, our collective choice, our collective power, our collective agency. In Zen, we would probably most accurately say our collective vow, right? To be in relationship always with Dharma, right? Hence this translation actually choosing to use the literal words we vow. And so when this is said in a Dharma setting, everybody chants it. The speaker, the audience, everybody. We all say this together. It's collective, right? Regardless of the choice of the words in the translation, everybody says it together. And so immediately the playing field is leveled instead of the pressure being put on the speaker who deliver a deep and subtle Dharma talk. Ugh, it's terrifying. Instead, we are collectively vowing to be in relationship with the depth and subtlety of our lives. Right? I'm saying lives as a synonym for Dharma. Right? It's right here, yet it's so far beyond words. I hope that sounds like your life. Right here, far beyond words. It includes words. We're using them now. They're helpful. They're fingers pointing at the moon. They're symbols. They represent something. But like all words and like all symbols, they represent something beyond themselves. Right? The truth is surely beyond the symbols for it. So, as somebody who's walking into a Dharma hall and getting ready to hear a Dharma talk, to chant this with my own voice, with my own breath, along with the voices and the breaths of everybody else in the Dharma hall, you can feel that by the end of this chant, I vow, along with this collective, to taste the truth. It's right here, and it's completely beyond words. So immediately, the speaker is off the hook. They could sit and read from the phone book. It wouldn't matter, really. Because my job, as I just vowed, our job, as we just vowed, is to taste the truth of our lives. That's the deep and subtle Dharma. I hope this Dharma talk helps. I hope what I'm about to hear illuminates some little piece of something that I hadn't really seen before, right? Shakes my mental container and a little bit of a way. So I go, oh, yeah, I never considered that. Right? Maybe I'll learn something. I mean, maybe there's a fact I don't know, a name I don't know. But that's cool too. Wonderful. I'll take all of it. All of it belongs, right? But can you feel the spirit of the chant is, oh, wait, this is my job. This is my vow. This is my highest aspiration to be in complete connection, deep, intimate, non conceptual connection to the truth of my life. That's what's happening right here. Wow. That's what this verse invites. Wow. It's really beautiful. Right? The words that are chosen here with great intent: see it, hear it, remember it, become it, taste it. Can you feel how sensual, how carnal many of those are? Remember is conceptual, of course, right? Mental, right? See, hear, taste, senses of the body. To become, that incorporates all elements of ourselves, right? To become something is to literally have it be not separate from us, right? You just become it, you are it, and then it is way beyond words. You just are it already, right? Wow. You can feel how thorough the word choice is inviting us into relationship with this. Is like, this is not just words given from somebody sitting in a seat that you are, right? Can you feel the size of the invitation here? What's beautiful about it is it frames the whole thing in terms of an impossibility of failure. There then can't be a good or a bad. There then can't be a success or a failure. Your life is happening. It's right there. You can't fail at that, right? So every time you touch with some wonder or some awe or some curiosity, the depth of your breath, the sound of the crow outside of your window, the sound of the voice of the person offering the talk as it just enters and joins the great tapestry of everything. There it is. That's Dharma. Can you feel how non-separate that is? It's way beyond the ideas of good, bad, or success or failure. Well, that's your life. That's the infinity of your existence. Jeez. Isn't that relaxing? Isn't that nice? What a relief. You can't fail at giving a talk. You can't fail at listening to a talk. You can't fail, more importantly, at being a Zen student, being a Buddhist student. It's not something you can fail at. It's only there. The path of Dharma is only there to remind you what you already are, right? There's just not a possibility of you not becoming the thing you already are. So failure isn't even a possibility. So a few more things I want to say about this. Um, the verse as it exists today is credited the empress, sorry, the empress in China from the Tang dynasty, Wu Zetian, is the one credited for finalizing the verse that we are talking about, the verse that we just chanted, right? Wu Zetian. I am sure I am butchering that name. I apologize. I don't know Chinese. But she comes to us from the Tang dynasty in China. This is the golden age of Chinese Zen. and it would make sense. Along with a lot of Zen scripture, a lot was kind of codified and finalized during that time. So this makes sense that this happened then too. Um, it also, because of her word choice and her references, we know that she was also referring back to some of the stuff from the Pali Canon. She would have had access to the Pali Canon, the earliest records of what the Buddha taught. And so there's some old Pali Canon references woven in through this verse, but that's how it comes to us. This is quite old. We're going to say 1500 years old, something like that, 1200 years old, somewhere in there. I'm number one, I have a poor memory, and number two, I'm not a very good historian. But this version of this chant has been around for a long, long time, and as I said, has been used ever since in different settings, different translations, more often, less often. But this one's been around. This particular verse has been around a long, long, long time, right? And one of its origins, one of the things it's referring to, um, is Bodhidharma, the probably mythological, maybe historical, maybe a bit of both, the founder of Zen, the one who brings what we now call Zen from India, Indian Buddhism, to China. He's the great kind of ambassador, in a way, of the essence of Buddhism. Zen, the essence of Buddhism, right? That's how we think of it. To bring that from this culture over here to this culture over here. Famously didn't um, have a tremendous amount to say. A lot is actually recorded about him in a relative sense, but nothing compared to the nothing compared to people like Hakuin or Dogen or later Zen teachers who were very, very, very prolific. Right? He was a little, and again, probably a mythological figure, but sort of famously cranky and famously short on words, which is kind of cool because myth or not, he becomes emblematic of sort of the spirit of Zen, which isn't crankiness. It's just the fewer words, the better, right? You can hear that in the verse. So she's making reference back to Bodhidharma and Bodhidharma's uh, famous assertion. A lot of you Zen students have heard this 1,000 times, that Zen, the essence of Buddhism, the heart of Dharma, is a direct transmission outside the scriptures. No dependence on words and letters, directly pointing to the heart mind, Zen, seeing clearly, realizing Buddha. Right? Many of you have heard some version of those words before. Lots of different translations of that again too. But you feel the idea like this is direct experience outside scriptures, beyond words and letters, reminds us, just like the Opening the Sutra chant does, it isn't about the thing that's about to be said. It's reminding us the thing that's about to be said is pointing to something that is already imminent. It's already here. It's already happening. It's something you already are. Right? You don't become Buddha. You realize that you are or always have been that. It's your truest nature, Buddha nature. Right. So from the very beginning of Zen, we have this idea that words will never get to it. We're referencing the transcendent now. We're referencing the transcendent. So the symbols won't get there, the words won't get there, all the letters and all the expressions will reference it because they can't not reference it. Everything references it. But to not mistake the pointing finger for that which it references. Do you feel how it changes our relationship with the Dharma talk? It's not that the Dharma talk stops mattering. It does. It matters like every ritual expression. It matters like every symbol for the transcendent. It matters deeply. It's there to remind us of the most vital dimension of our lives. But it's also there to remind us the most vital dimension of your life is not something you can miss. It's happening all the time. Right? So this isn't our normal way of referring to our normal way of referring to education, something offered and something taken, something given and something received. There's a ritual action taking place. The Dharma talk is zazen, right? And so how do we know that? I'm gonna end with this. Well, we know that because in Zen everything is zazen. Zazen is non-separate from everything, right? We have a particular activity we call crossing your legs and adjusting your posture, setting a timer facing the wall, forming a mudra. We call that Zazen. Yeah, of course. And that ritual expression is there to remind us that all of our life is Zazen. There is no separate thing that isn't Zazen. It's impossible. This existence is Zazen, right? So what I imagine, because it's really helpful for me when I think about Bodhidharma's founding of Zen and the beautiful Empress's opening the sutra chant that references him, is I imagine him being a pilgrim, going from one culture to another, from one country to another. This would, of course, taken months. It's not a flight, right? This would have taken months. And carrying with him in his heart, I imagine him carrying a verse from his teacher. His teacher was Prajnatara. Again, perhaps a fictional character, perhaps not. Again, I'm not a historian. My understanding in contemporary scholarship is that it's possible, maybe even likely, that Bodhidharma's teacher in India, Prajnatara, was a female, and the scriptures would have changed the gender reference over time because then the lineage of ancestors is all men, and that's the way we culturally think, right? We have a very sexist kind of way of thinking about, um, well, it's the way we all think. It's part of our collective socialization. It's part of what we're trying to bring into view, right, in ourselves, as part of our karma, so we can change it. There's a pretty reasonable possibility that Prajnatara was in fact a female, and he had a female teacher, and then that the later history books just tweaked that to make her a he. So I have feelings about that, but that's not the point of the talk. The point of the talk is his teacher is credited with a 4-line verse, and I like to imagine Bodhidharma carrying this verse in his heart because what he went on to teach about Zen is right down the boulevard with what she taught him. Right? He didn't invent this teaching. They really did understand this is the essence of Buddhism that goes all the way back. Like, this is the heart of Buddha. I got it from my teacher, and she got it from her teacher. And right, that's how this stuff has always been understood. Right? My expression of it is just my expression of it, that little personal version, but it's part of the eternal. This is just the thing, right? So Prajnatara's verse, which some of you know, is translated this way. When I inhale, I don't dwell upon things. When I exhale, I don't pursue thoughts. Thus, I breathe the sutra as it isness, hundreds of thousands of millions of times. I'll read it again. I really love the made up word in there. I don't know what the Chinese would have been, but I love whatever the English translator did there. It's very charming to me. When I inhale, I don't dwell upon things. When I exhale, I don't pursue thoughts. Thus, I breathe the sutra as it isness, hundreds of thousands of millions of times. The whole thing is right there. It's just brilliant. It's beautiful. As it isness, very, very Zen. Things as it is, we say. Reality as it is. Do you feel what that's pointing to? There isn't a mediator. There isn't a mediating idea, mediating belief, mediating concepts, mediating symbols. Right? We can have those things or not have those things. That's not the point. Those things, those symbols, those rituals, those ideas, those concepts, those beliefs are useful to the extent that they help me see past them. I'm not caught by them. I'm in a relationship directly with that to which they refer. Wow. So using the breath as a sutra, her admonition, her invitation, your breath is the sutra. Your breath is the sutra, right? Thus, I breathe it hundreds of thousands of millions of times. Isn't that beautiful? Like, you've already been doing it. You're already an expert breather. You've been an expert breather your whole life. You can't miss this. It's impossible. That's the sutra. It's happening right now. It's alive. There doesn't have to be any kind of mediating idea or belief about it. It's already there. It's the sutra as it is, things exactly as they are. The body giving you the sensations it's giving you right now. The sensation of the changing temperature of your breath on the way in and on the way out right now. The sound of the crow outside the window. The glint of the April sun on the chimney, on the roof across the street. That's not an idea about my life. That is my life, right? As it is, right? The movement of thoughts that I notice coming up around the swelling of emotion, accepting that fully, reminding ourselves we are the pasture in which all of those things play. This is Buddha. That is my nature. Awareness itself. There doesn't have to be a restriction to anything that shows up. There doesn't have to be a grabbing. Do you feel when she says, I don't have to dwell on it? I don't have to pursue it. There's nothing to pursue. There's nothing to dwell. There's just experience. Complete vulnerability to experience. Complete receptivity, right? It's more than just accepting experience. It's affirming it, affirming all of it. This is Buddha in the shape, in the experience of a body, of a human, for a few very, very, very short and infinitely precious decades. So rare to touch the deep and subtle. Wow. The opportunity to stand on two legs, to walk and feel and hear and breathe. Rare beyond rare, impossibly rare, precious beyond precious. What a gift. There's the sutra. So there's more to say about this. It's a beautiful verse to me. I'm really moved by this. And I would like to use it in subsequent talks to open the talk. I think it's a wonderful way of framing the ritual of what happens, right? Even in a virtual setting, I think there's a power to saying it together and reminding ourselves of what we're here to do. So I hope that this little introduction gives you a taste this morning, enough to be curious about. And in subsequent weeks, we'll say some more about it until I run out of things to say about it. Oh boy, we'll see if that happens. I don't know. I never seem to have an absence of things to say. But I so appreciate your attention. I so appreciate your curiosity about this morning. And yeah, please join us next time for more on Opening the Sutra. And in the meantime, be well. Blessings. Thank you so much. Bye bye.